Welcome to the brand new Yuba FC podcast. Here with owner, player, legend, Peter Afato. I'm Manny Rodriguez.
Nice to have you guys.
It's a pleasure. Cheers.
Yep.
This is water. So, Pete, how was your day today?
It was good. Just we had a game last night. Didn't get the result we wanted, but the boys fought hard, and just today was just kind of just going back through the film, trying to figure out what we can improve on and how to move forward.
It's good. It's always important to learn from all situations, even losses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, things happen, but important part is moving forward and learning from those things. And yeah, we have some questions here that we have pre-written to sort of get a little bit into the mind of what it's like to run a team and to sort of, what are the, I guess you'd say the get us behind a better image of what's going on. So, what inspired the creation of the Yuba Football Club, and how did it all begin?
Yeah, so honestly, it started back in the spring of 2022. I was playing for another semi-pro team out of town. A couple of the other players that we have now with Yuba who have somewhat become legends in their own right, like Luis Martinez, Kenji, Yannick. A lot of us, we were playing out of town, and we were just like, why are we driving 2 hours, an hour and a half to go play at this level when we have all this talent in Yuba? Why don't we start something back here? And after talking about it a lot with a lot of the guys, I was like, so if we get out there and we get someone to start it, you guys down to play, but down to come home? And they're all like, yeah. And so we kind of talked about it, talked with other people that maybe get it started, get it interested, and it ended up just falling into my lap and in my hands and under my vision. I just decided to just grab it and just go with it. And it happened very fast. We were planning to launch in spring of 23, and opportunity came to us in the fall of 2022, and things got rolling. I mean, we started working on obviously designs of the logo, the colorway, kind of trying to get a small fit of the roster, and then we ended up having planning the tryouts, where to play, a lot of that stuff, and it just happened. It kind of just happened. I couldn't say it could have went any better than how it went. We were very successful after that first year. We went undefeated, promoted to the Premier League, and it's kind of been history.
Yeah, you guys won the championship the first season, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a very you guys first season. It's a very strong start.
Yeah.
For a team, you guys just immediately win. You guys move up a league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about some of the more challenging parts. Some of the more what was, because that was once you had the team rolling.
Yeah.
What was one of your biggest challenges to start the team? What before you even got on the field?
Yeah, I'd say obviously I think the first and the most part, that's still I think the hardest part now is just the funding. Trying to get the funding from either local businesses or trying to find ways to raise money, whether that's doing camps or selling gear or charging at the gate. Some of our players, we all have to pay a little bit to keep it going right now. I mean, we're a new club. It's kind of like a startup business, right?
Yeah.
You gotta kind of just take it, and you're gonna pour a lot into it before you receive a lot back. But I'd say funding probably is the most challenging. But then also just being able to handle just everything else, like the players. Like as easy as they've made it for me, it's still very challenging trying to take 25 to 30 players and keep them all happy, right?
Yeah.
It's only 11 can be on the pitch at a time. It's very challenging to keep everyone happy, but they've been wonderful, and they've made my life very easy. So I've been very blessed with the players on both the men and the women's side.
That's good. Yeah, the women's team that was brought on 2023, right? A
Yes.
little bit after the men's team started.
Yeah, and it was the same thing with my men's. It was a plan of launching actually this past spring. We're supposed to launch in 24, and again, just saw a door opened, and we took advantage of it, and we ended up winning the league there as well. Um, we went all the way to the state final, and unfortunately, we lost in double overtime down in Irvine. But again, we were just super successful, and I got a great group of women that were able to just absolutely ball out, and they fought for each other, and it was again just kind of the same with my men. Just we were very successful very early, and it honestly comes down to the players. Just they worked hard. They did everything I asked of them and more, and I couldn't ask for a better group.
Yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, I think a lot of us we just see like the actual playing, and it's sort of it's good to hear what's going on behind the scenes, and yeah, I know you've been working with local businesses, and you've been trying to kind of raise more awareness about the team, and then you've been trying to get the community involved. Can you tell me more about that, and how any plans you have of getting the community involved?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, sponsors. We have some great people that have come in and helped us in sponsorships, and also just not just by providing money, but being able to provide us with like parties. Like for example, one of our first official sponsors was Rolling Stone Pizza. Jim King, he's been amazing. He's been a great mentor. He's big in the Yuba City area. He was actually one of the people that was in charge of like the racket club, and he helped run the tennis circuit in Yuba City, and it was very successful. So he knows all about grassroots projects, and he's been a great mentor and just impact on us as a club. He's helped us get other sponsors. We've also got a bunch of other sponsors that have been able to come in and just help bring notice to us, and then also just help us keep this running. In terms of plans, I mean, we're joining 2 new leagues this coming year. My men will be joining the league by clubs this coming spring, which is a great opportunity for us. Just a higher level, and it's just going to be it's very well organized and very well ran. And so our plan is to try to get the community more involved, in the sense that we just want more people out at the games, right? We get a good mix. Sometimes we'll have 100. Sometimes I think the most we've ever had was 550 roughly. So we get a good chunk of fans out there. It's just now just continue to build it. We want to be more involved in the schools and in the youth. This past home game we had the Yuba Sutter Missouri. I think it was 2016 and 2014 boys. They came out, and they were our ball boys, and man, they're phenomenal. We were like, all of us were like, dude, these guys are acting like they're getting paid.
Yeah.
That ball went out, and the ball was back in the field ready for us to play right away. But they got to come out, walk out with the national anthem, be our ball boys, get to come take pictures with us. And they're just like, one of the comments that came across us was like, when can we join? When do we get to be part of this? And I know they're young and it's exciting, but like that's the future for us, right? Like a lot of us, I mean, myself included, we're on the mid to end of our careers. A lot of us, some of our guys have played professionally. Some of us have already finished the college circuit, and we have maybe another 5 to 6 years of playing. And then it's going to be these young guys. We have a couple young guys like Alan Gonzalez, who's 17. We got Jared Osagura, who's 16. We have young guys that are the future, and like these young kids, like that's where we're aiming to in the community, to not just build for us, for our club at Yuba FC, but to just build the soccer community in the Yuba Sutter, Butte, Colusa County area. We have players from all these areas. We just want to continue to build it and provide opportunities. We have a partnership with OPSM Pro, who actually I also work for. They're a pro agency in Canada. They're very big, and they want to help provide opportunities for kids, whether it's in the professional realm or to go play in college. So that's our next goal, is to help provide opportunities. That was, again, one of the reasons we started this was we had guys leaving the area, and we wanted to bring it back here to let the players stay here, not have to drive 2 hours. We had a couple, the twins, for example, Manny and Diego Collazo. They're now playing professionally in Spain. 2 17-year-olds that started with us when they're 15 years old, and they're driving all the way to Silicon Valley to play. And they came and played with us, and we provided them a platform, and they took it and they made the most of it, and now they're over there in the big leagues doing their thing. So we've been very blessed with, again, like I said, calling back to our earlier point of just the players we've had, but the community has been very receiving to us. They've come and supported us when we're winning. They've supported us when we've had rough patches. But our plan is just to hopefully get more involved with the youth, and hopefully start bringing in more involved just in the community as a whole, whether that's us promoting more local businesses or having local businesses, maybe some caterers or food trucks come out to our home games. That's kind of our goal, is to just embrace the Yuba City community, embrace just everybody, and let them just come and have a fun time. It's more bigger than soccer, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look at us and they might think it's just a football team, it's just a soccer team. And that's kind of one reason why we're starting this podcast and why we're trying to grow our social media, is them to see that it's more than that, right? We're part of the community. It's deeper than just football.
Yeah.
And I think once more people realize that and they see what we're doing behind the scenes and seeing the opportunities we're providing for people, I think the more people want to be involved, and I think the more the merrier.
Yeah, you know, that brings an interesting point to my mind, and that is like just the culture of soccer in America, right? Because I know internationally soccer is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like sport there is. You know, they got the World Cup every 4 years, and like you look online, social media, people love their teams, right? In England and all over Europe, Latin America, but I think in here in the U.S., it's a lot of that American football, right? Like the tackle football, that. So how would you say that the culture around football, football is here in the U.S.? Like, what is there? Do you think people are more invested now than when you were younger? Is it the same? Is it less? Would you say people are still are the peak of football still yet to come in the U.S.? How would you describe that?
Yeah, I think it definitely is way more popular than when I was a kid. I mean, especially with the World Cup coming to the United States, Mexico, Canada in 2026, that's gonna be huge for us, like in terms of Americans involved in football, right? I think just the culture's been, we're one of the few countries that we have, like, we're the top leagues, right? We have the NBA, the MLB, NFL, NHL, right? We're the place to come to play. And I think the one thing that throws off for Americans is we're not the place to come to play soccer, right?
Yeah.
It's the Big Five in Europe, the Saudi League now. With Messi coming to the United States, obviously that exploded soccer here in the States. And I think it comes down to just the players that are now here playing, and even though they're on their way out, like Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Messi, just to name a few, are those players redefine football for so many people. And I think that is what's made it grow. I mean, the flash, the flair, just doing things that you don't think is possible to do, right? The way that Messi manipulates a football, or the way that Ronaldo can jump 7 feet in the air and kick a ball and land on his back, right? Or Neymar doing these things that I didn't even know you could do. I think that's really, really grown. And I mean, just from being involved in the youth now, coaching and just seeing the youth, I think they're just so much more invested. They know the players. They're watching the games. They're on social media. I think social media has grown it a lot too, in the sense of it's a lot easier to watch the Premier League. It's a lot easier to watch the Champions League than it was even when I was growing up. Like, there's all these apps, there's all these YouTube shorts and all these videos of highlights of how to do this. And in terms of athletes, I think, I mean, you can look at the Olympics. I think America is always one of the top producing in terms of athletes. So I think now it's just in terms of, let's turn these athletes towards football and see what they can do. And I think once we change a few ways in the U.S. soccer system, I think at least the women, they've already dominated for the most part in the United States. But I think once the men start looking that way, I think they'll start being a lot more successful.
Yeah, you see that a lot. The women's teams are, I mean, they're like World Cup winners, right?
Yeah,
in the U.S.
Yeah, they're one of the powerhouses.
Yeah, so something about the women's teams, they're always doing good here in the U.S., right? I mean, even in the UFC, they're just the top of their game. Always just head of the curve and doing really well. Yeah. What do you think the process for recruiting players, and what's the process like for recruiting players and building a competitive team?
So like with us starting from scratch, we held tryouts, right? We had 100 and I think it was 28 people sign up for our first tryout, and we had 81 show up, and that was huge for us. Like when I started, I was like, I hope we get 40, at a tryout, and we had a huge turnout, and it was amazing. Unfortunately, we weren't able to take everybody, but we've had a couple players that didn't make it in the first cut that have come back to the following tryouts and made it. We've had a couple players who we brought in on like a 2-week trial who have made it. It's a mix. Obviously, just like in any sport or anything, you want to see it in person, right? I get film from players all over. Like for example, we just got film from one of our players who he actually just was named captain 2 weeks ago. Dakota, he sent him his film. He had a resume of playing professionally, but once I got to see him on the pitch the first time, I knew like, this guy's a baller, right?
Yeah.
So it obviously it changes each year. Obviously we hold tryouts, and we like to have everyone, not everyone, but we bring a lot of guys in that have talent, and we just see if they can hang, because it's a different beast when you play at this level. It's just way more physical, way more demanding. You got to be fit. Every little detail is just so much more a big issue when you play at this level. And then we have some players that have actually reached out and want to come join us. We have a couple players. I'm not going to name names yet because we'll announce their signings when the season comes. But
stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. But they've reached out and they like what we're doing as a club. They like the culture we've built, both on the men and women's, and they want to join us this coming year. And so I think it's a good mix of just tryouts. Some is just I've watched young kids like Alan or Jared who watch them play, and it's like this guy belongs here even though he's young, but the talent is through the roof, and this is where we want to bring him in young so they can start playing with us. And so when like Alan, he's been training with us since he's 14, he's 17 years old now, and he's just a monster. Like he starts with us almost every game, right? And
yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, because we were talking about earlier about you brought in the kids, and they were the ball boys, and they were super excited. They're asking about when can they join the team. So what is the age? Like when do you start?
So we the youngest I've ever brought in, we have a 14-year-old right now, Manny. He
plays. How many Mannys is there?
There's a lot, but we brought him in actually a few weeks ago, and he's been training with us. He actually made his debut last night. He's a midfielder from Williams, California. But we brought him in, very talented. He's young, obviously. He has a lot to grow, but he has a high ceiling. He's very, very, very talented.
Yeah.
And so he made his debut last night, played 8 minutes, did his job. Like I told him, once I go in there, have fun, just connect some passes, and that's what he did. He kept the ball, no turnovers,
cool.
Defended well, and I talked to him after, and he seemed like he had a good time. Again, like it's never fun to lose, but I think it's good to get your first minutes under your belt. And we don't really necessarily have so-called age group. I say it all depends who they are and how they play, because like I said, it's a lot more physical, so we try not to bring in players that aren't ready physically enough, like if they're just going to get bulldozed or they're afraid. That's where injuries come in, is where you're pulling out of tackles or you're afraid. But like those young boys I mentioned, they play like men, and so we treat them like men, and they come out there and train like men. So that's pretty much how we roll in terms of like the youth and the young players coming in.
Yeah, because that's like you said, there's a lot of room for them to grow. So I'm assuming the process is you're trying to like keep them on as long as you can, right? So you can eventually, in a way, teach them to play with the team and learn the culture of the team, so that they can rise amongst the ranks there. So that basically you're creating the new generation of the Yuba FC, right?
Yeah.
And that way you'll always have a solid team and people who can pass on that culture. Once the older players have to retire from the team, they can continue the traditions and the values that you guys uphold.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of like the club, it would be awesome to have a whole youth academy where we can build a whole culture from 8 years old up through 19 to then come with us, right? Unfortunately, we don't have that right now. That's something we have in the plans, or hopefully we're looking to maybe work with some of the local clubs to maybe partner with us, and we can kind of build that kind of culture together. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest mistake would be to not pay attention to the youth and not try to grow the youth, right? I mean, like you said, a lot of this age, we're in our mid-20s or early 30s, and we're really good for 4 or 5 years, and then the team goes away and no longer exists because they didn't pour into the youth. They didn't try to build before they needed to build. Like they waited until, oh crap, we have 8 guys, we need to go try to recruit young guys. So with us, we just look at it as one, obviously it keeps us thriving, right? It keeps us as a club continuing forward.
Yeah.
But two, also it just provides these players opportunities to play at a high level, right? Like the Twins, they're young teenagers. Now they're playing professionally and they're still teenagers, right? So we did our job in the sense that we gave them a platform and they took that platform and made the most of it. So as much as people might say, oh, we built them or we did this, in my opinion, as a coach and as an owner, I feel like these players that have been successful here have taken the opportunity and they've made the most of it.
Yeah.
We provide it and they make the most out of it. And I think that's what these young boys that we have on the squad right now, I think they're doing the same thing. I think they've took the chance that we gave them and they have not looked back. And I think there's nothing but high feelings for all of them.
That's good. That's a big impact that a small team can have, right? You got people playing in internationally now, other overseas, across the pond, just and they stem from here, the city, and that's really an amazing thing that they kind of reach and impact that a team that, like, did you ever think when you were making this team, right, when you were in the plans, that you would be able to, like, reach these heights?
I think I would say yes and no. When I started it, like I tell everybody, we started it so we could play, so I could play, right?
For fun, kind of, right? Yeah.
To play at a high level, and I hated having to drive 2 hours to practice every night. We did it for that reason, for us to play, and now we're 3 years in, and we've all got older. And at the time, I wasn't even a coach yet. I had just helped do some private trainings or stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm coaching at a community college. I coach a high school. I coach my women's team, and I've grown a lot as a coach, and so I see things differently. So in that sense, no in the beginning, but yes in the term of I've always had a vision for it. I've been a big person that believes in if you dream about it and you have the vision and you stay disciplined and you work hard at it, even when it's hard and it doesn't make sense, eventually it will come if you continue on that path. And I think that's what we've done. I mean, we've had some seasons, especially that first season when we first promoted, we finished second to last, and it was very, very hard because we jumped from a league that was a little weaker to a very high level team, our league, and it just required a lot more of us. And I just think some of us weren't ready. I think we had it. Some of us, not all of us, but some of us had not been put in that position yet to have that kind of struggle. But then the next year we went and we made it to the semifinal of the league, right? 1 game away from being in the national tournament. So I think it's shown that if you keep your head down and you work hard and you stay to the plan, big things can come. And like I said, these young kids, I think if they believe in themselves and they continue to work hard, I know I believe in them, and that's why we gave them this chance. I think they'll make it to wherever they want to go.
From now that you can look back, is there anything that you would have done different
in terms of starting the team?
Yeah.
I think maybe be kind of in terms of there's ways of handling situations maybe, or just obviously as I'm older now and I have a lot more experience, so I've learned how to deal with people's attitudes and emotions and personalities. I think there's moments where I could say I could have handled things a little bit better. I would sometimes wish I would have been all in on running, getting the club completely off the ground, and I think that also came just because we kind of, like I said, a door opened and we kind of just jumped at it, and I mean we were successful. But I don't really have too many regrets or things that I say I could do differently. I think everything has happened how it was supposed to happen, and I think we've all, the players, myself, the people, the fans, everyone that's been involved, I think we've all learned and had great experiences together, and I think there's nothing but good things coming forward. I mean, like I said, we have a couple things that are big in the future that are going to change, some new things that we're going to add. Like Manny said, stay tuned, but I think there's a lot of things, and I think all these things are happening at the right time. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's quite of a bit of information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. No, that's Is there some way people can contact you to reach and see if they want to sign up for the team and try out? How do people do that?
Yeah, so we have two ways. You can reach out through email at Yuba Football Club at gmail.com. You can just send us just a message, maybe a highlight tape or a CV. For you, those of you who don't know, a CV is like a soccer resume, like a resume of where you played, your stats, your awards. You can also message us on Instagram, just at Yuba Football Club. That's where we get a lot of just DMs with the similar stuff. Just send us your highlight tape, your contact info, and your CV or where you play. Kind of give a little background about yourself, and then you can kind of follow us across all the rest of social media, just at Yuba Football Club. But yeah, that was good.
It's great, man.
Yeah, that was good. Thanks for having me.